All right, hello, hello, hello. Sound is probably a bit weird again. I think I got to the root of the microphone problem. Let me know, does it still sound like I'm inside of a metal box? Probably. All the testing kind of showed it. I was like, huh. Let's see. No, I'm trying. Hold on. I'm trying to change one of the settings real quick. It's in the right range, so I'm good with that one. Okay. Sound is okay. Yeah. So I think Mr. Kipster is the reason that this microphone is all kind of funky. So no matter what I did with the settings, I couldn't get the settings. I couldn't get it to really kind of sound um, not tinny, like it sounds like I'm far away from the microphone. And then I was like, well, maybe it's the other microphone that is causing the problems. And then I like sound tested the other microphone, and that one worked just fine. So um, the headset that I'm using, while great for sound, was never really great for microphone. And I think Mr. Kipster pulling this microphone off so much and putting it in his mouth, I think has finally killed it. um, so I think that's kind of what happened, was just him grabbing the microphone and putting the microphone part in his mouth, and me not stopping him probably messed it up. But anyway, they did create an updated microphone that is a much better microphone that is ordered and will be here sometime this week. So we will get that in there, and that should make things. Everybody said it's a huge upgrade from the original, so I'm kind of excited about that one. So maybe it all works out in the end, right? Maybe it all works out in the end. Um, just got some fresh coffee, and it's like super hot. Um, all right, so the only news we got today, so thus far, really, I think this is everything. Yeah, this is everything. German business info client, and we're actually hearing. If you look down here, you can see that Germany's on the cusp of recession, says the IFO, after business sentiment falls. And again, ours has kind of fallen at the same rate. There was kind of some jokes this weekend about how I guess the Biden administration now is changing the definition of a recession, and supposedly that's not what There's no economic guideline that says that's what a recession is. It's like, I don't know, when something has been used throughout history, right? As that's like the definition that everybody uses for it. To say that, well, that's not what the rule is. Like, who makes the rule? If everybody, I mean, like, if everybody is in agreement and it's a universal understanding, and that's what people have talked about for the last 50 years, just magically be like, well, no one wrote that down. That doesn't count. Like, okay, sure. It still happens. So, anyway, it's just a word. The only big mover that we have right now is actually really seeing some pound strength kind of roll back into the market. You're seeing it versus the dollar, and you're seeing it versus the yen. Now, dollar-wise, kind of a weird morning. You're not really seeing, like you're seeing things like the dollar Swiss up, and again, that is because of the EU contagion there. But you're seeing the dollar CAD down, and you're seeing the Aussie dollar down a little bit, right? The pound or the euro pound down a little bit, right? So, it's kind of hard to say. It's in the middle of the road. I wouldn't say that it really has a major kind of market trend right now. You can see one of the, one of the news articles, the latest things here is, the greenback softens, but think twice about chasing it. Yeah, again, until really the U.S. trader and the brunt of the U.S. trader gets in there this morning, it's really hard to just, figure out kind of what the, what is the opening print going to look like? What is the driving factors that are going to be involved this morning? And it's just a typical Monday in the summer. I mean, figure, we're late July at this point. We are smack dead in the middle of vacation season. So again, volume's obviously much less than what we would normally see, and that's just it's just the market. It's not a big deal, right? So we'll take it and roll with it. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here real quick. I sent an email. I was like, hey, I need you guys to review this, approve it, look at it, let me know if it's okay, and get back to me. And then they don't do anything for 10 minutes, and then as soon as I hit go, um, um, sorry, yeah. So not only does he say that he likes the email and the format, but then he goes into like a three text message kind of, like, this is good, and they're doing this here, and this looks great here. So it's like, yep, I got it. Um, sorry. So that's what we're dealing with. But again, no other news today. Tomorrow morning, we do have some big news. And again, we have our CB consumer confidence number expected to go lower again. Manufacturing number also expected to be very, very negative. And again, that's kind of been a weird one. We've seen like a hiccup and then some really negative data. And then tomorrow night, CPI. And what's interesting about the Aussie CPI is they also had that big raise last time. And I guess it's not as big of a jump, but they're trimmed, right? They're trimmed on a quarterly basis. And again, it's hard quarterly, is excluding the most volatile 30 items, and that's actually increasing. So even though they did the big raise, this is on a quarterly basis, and it's kind of like, removing those volatile items. Kind of like our core, they call it trimmed. And again, there's we saw with Canada, there's trimmed, there's median, there's all kind of stuff in there. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're dealing with in the next 24 hours as far as news goes. Let's dive right in and kind of see where we're at. For those of you who were here Friday, and again, we talk about this all the time. If you if you look at the Aussie, we talked about it really stopping, maintaining, and holding high, right, and then opening somewhere up here. Well, it didn't. It opened right here, right, but here's that 1030 reversal that we talked about, and we're kind of sitting in there right now. So interesting spot. If you would mark this off, you could say, well, wait a second, there's a zone right there. And you are correct. There is a zone right there. We hit it last week and dropped, but the way we had those descending candles, there could also be another short trade right here. And I actually think this is a pretty decent move right now. I mean, again, we had that softening, but if you're looking for some type of position, I actually don't think this is a horrible position right now. Again, the 1 to 3 is sitting right about there, which is kind of where we would pick our profit target to be. It's already been kind of driven back from that level, but if you take the new level, or even, obviously the old one didn't hit, but the way that it established with the base and the descending candles, it's actually not a bad little trade setup. And it's kind of like in close proximity right now, which, again, you don't always get those for chart school with that close proximity aspect of it. So, think it's a pretty interesting setup. I do think we will have dollar strength rolling back into the market, just with kind of everything that we're kind of seeing, hearing, and again, it's a typical Monday morning where, yeah, we had dollar weakness of the European session, and then the U.S. traders get in there like, what weakness? We're not weak, and we kind of move from there. So, yeah, I think it's half decent trade. Now, where it would bounce, I would say probably down here. This is a decent bottom on there. It was, late last night, but the way that it hit and where it hit, I actually think that's probably a decent profit target for us to get down to. So, again, 68.90. I don't think that's, uncalled for. We'll change this black and make that, again, kind of our target first. All right, Aussie yen. Aussie yen has also taken a drive up. And if you look last week, we were talking about a break, and we had this one. We talked about breaking through 94.77, hitting 94.50, and then eventual buy area down here. You can see it kind of, and I have to get on to a 15-minute on this one. Look at this for Harry Potter. It's like, we break and we pulled back up. We basically tried it again. We tried it again. We tried it again. Finally touched it at 11:15, and then it actually ended up going all the way down. And the market closed here. So it actually did come all the way back down. Now, again, at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you're not getting into positions, obviously, on a Friday. But if you extend that across, you can see we kind of came down. And, looking for that new bottom in there, you can see it's bounced and retraced all the way back up again. So kind of been kind of a cool move. And, again, we were talking about this level. 50% is right there. We were looking for it, knowing that we had a little bit of buffer. Again, this hit at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. So you're like, yeah, I want to go long, but I need to find like a good bottom. And that bottom kind of came in over in here. Right, looking for that green, red, green. Your green, red, green actually would have kicked in right here. Okay, kind of a confirmation that we're finally breaking higher. So, again, it's kind of out right now. I would say the thinking on this one is kind of the same going back up to the 30 minutes. You can see that there is a level sitting kind of right here. It was a one candle base. It has been touched, right? It's right there, right? And that's kind of what we went off of. It's already pushed it a little bit deeper already, and it's kind of similar, right? Seeing some Aussie weakness come back in again, and this one obviously has the yen involved, not necessarily the dollar. The 1 to 3 is only right there. Actually, let's see. 3 is right there. That's 3.02. So got super, super close to already hitting it. I would say this one is probably due to roll back down as well. But kind of similar. I like the Aussie dollar a little bit more. Just my opinion, right? Euro dollar. So euro dollar also grinding. So we talked about this one kind of, again, really kind of where it opened. It was kind of sitting in the middle, so it wasn't really the best opportunity. Again, we were talking about it being high. It didn't make it, and it's really just chopping back and forth again. So, again, here's the European move up, the 1030 reversal back. Kind of came back to a decent spot, and I guess you could have traded this late last night. There is a zone forming right there, and that was probably right at a 52, right? Yeah, right at the 50 and 61.8. So yeah, there was probably something you guys could have got into in there if you were looking for this to reverse back again. But it has fully retraced again. So, I mean, again, we'll take it off. It's always fancy when you're like, yep, probably this, and this, and this. And again, that trade is obviously out from the European session. So right now, again, my thinking is kind of the same, looking more bearish than anything else. This position kind of more of a bullish on the dollar side of things. Yeah, probably it for right now. And let's leave that on there for right now. Again, it has fully retraced. It's come all the way back up top. Let's see if it comes back down. It has had two pretty big hits in there, so I don't feel like I would use it again. But I'd really like to see. We don't know how long it's going to take to get down there, and if we can coincide that with some news, that probably wouldn't be the worst trade, right? To be able to take again. So, not a horrible one. Not a horrible one. Let me write that down. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I have my little list of things to kind of run back to as well. My phone's still going off. This guy never responds back, and it's kind of like, oh, you're in the middle of a webinar? Okay, let me send you 10 text messages. Gotta love it. Anyway, let's go to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound driving back down again. You can see we had a lot of, again, a lot of drama back and forth, a lot of fighting back and forth back right at 85. Now, we did push down, and we talked about 84.77. Now, we got really close to it. Again, this was a 61.8 level. You can see we're really teasing with it and basing above it. Typically, we really, really hate this when we see basing right before a level because it's starting to build up, kind of sellers and buyers in the other direction. Kind of what we're seeing right now. It's kind of one of those scenarios where you're like, oh, just go, please go. We can't do much with this now. And that's kind of the truth. So, I mean, it's been a level. We got really, really close to it. 1 pip. We missed it by 1 pip. So, on a fundamental level, I actually like this one more bearish. The reason why is because, again, Germany going into a recession, they are a big factor in the EU in general. And we kind of expect, it's not unexpected. I think everybody pretty much in the know or that kind of studies the markets at all kind of already felt that way, right? That this is kind of what we're, kind of going to go. Not that the UK is in a great place. We know they're already in recession, but we've seen a lot of kind of bigger kind of comments and things like that from the EU. There was actually one a little while ago. Where is it? Right here. Big interest rate hikes may not be over. September hike needs to be quite significant. Should be open to discussions on bigger hikes, right? A 2-week euro is a problem. Kind of an interesting little set of comments there. Now, that came out at 3 o'clock this morning. We haven't necessarily seen, I mean, from 3 o'clock, this is where the European market really kind of opened right here. That's where the comments came out, and it's a whole bunch of euro weakness. So I think they're absolutely amazing comments. I agree 100%. But again, is, Kazakh going to be like the next Bostic or, one of the other kind of Fed presidents that speaks that people are like Williams or something, or, it's kind of like, is this kind of, I don't know, maybe, I don't think he's a Bernard, but maybe he's a Bullard type, character. Again, everything here is 100% correct. The market is not, the market is not really showing it yet. But again, I think a lot of that has to do with Germany. It's like, oh God, Germany's in recession. Remember, the recession aspect of this tends to weigh more than the interest rate. Because again, if they are in a deep recession, they can't raise it as much if they're getting bad. And again, if they're starting to enter a recession now and they go with a big hike, it's going to get nasty. It's going to get nasty over there. So yeah, I mean, his thing here is kind of counterproductive. So people aren't really sure what to do with it yet. But we'll see where it goes. And again, we had a technical buy down there, and again, super close, missed it by 1 pip. You may have gotten in depending on the spread on your broker, how it was painted. So Anyway, again, this is OANDA data. Euro yen. So euro yen did take a little bit more of a bounce. This one saw some strength coming in right there. And again, these are the levels we talked about. We talked about targets of 140, 139. We ended up hitting it at about 930 and kind of Harry Pottered. And you can see it kind of came close, right? It closed down there and then opened here. And then what did it do? It tagged it right here, right? So it is definitely pushed off. The 3 o'clock window was right here where those comments were made. And again, it did bring strength back in, and it kind of did this little Harry Potter thing right here as well. So again, those were targets. I'll probably I'm going to use this old level that was kind of like the Harry Potter before, just because I feel like we need to mark it off, right? Front run here and then big push down. This is the next area where I see big selling coming in, and that's at 140.62. I think it's a decent level to be marked off. Let's see if we can get any more confirmations on that one as well. We can kind of, yeah, it's right in between the 50 and the 61.8, so there'll be people trying to kind of get in there and scalp that one. So I'd say this is probably a pretty decent level. This is one that I would say probably justifies putting on an alert on there. Let's turn it red. Let's throw this way for an alert. Let's talk about a 50% supply zone. There we go. So we'll keep that on there, but 140.62. As far as kind of buying again, like I said, I think these comments will dissipate. We got some room much, much lower, and at this point, this area has kind of been confirmed. So again, we'll pull this across, slide another one of those here, and kind of put that at 138.75. Okay. All right. So let's go to pound dollar. So pound dollar, we're looking for some reversal in this one, and again, we're seeing a lot of dollar weakness. We didn't know where it was coming in. Obviously, the 1030 was kind of where the turn was, and you can see where this one, we talked about the top of a knockout. You can see that this one closed much, much lower, pretty deep, right? And it came down and tagged the profit target. So that was all from last week, right? Not much we can do with it now, so let's pull it off. There's the term. And again, yes, last week we did mention this was broken pretty deeply, so it wasn't something we could sell off of. Hold on one sec. Now they're calling me. Hold on. That's everybody. Oh, you went off. Um, so I would say kind of the same opinion on as the Aussie dollar, Euro dollar. I think this one turns and flips right now. Obviously, it wasn't an immediate turn and roll, but I think that's kind of what's in order. So let's pull some of these off now. Do we want to pull this up? Not really. Let's put a smaller one on there. Kind of see where some hidden zones would be. Yeah, probably the 50. 50 looks like it's going to be a target level, which happens to be also the same side over here. So, actually, you know what? Let's pull that across. We tagged it once. Right. Just a little bit. Just to get that more. There's going to be a problem with that one, I think. It's a decent push right there. Let's pull this. It's our profit target, so that profit is out. Let's drag this across. How much space we got here? 60. Just a hiccup right there. Just feel that the way that this pushed off, and particularly at a European Open, I'm gonna put orange, but I feel like that could be the reversal we need for this morning. So that's what we're kind of looking for. As I said, we've seen some pound strength. If the euro starts rallying back again against the pound, this one should turn and roll back down again. As I said, I think obviously with the dollar, I think we probably get some movement in this one as well. Yeah, yeah, not, I don't know. It's decent, but I think some of the other trades out there are better opportunities at this point. But again, my overall opinion would be, yeah, this one's probably going to turn and roll. Timeline wise, I'm trying to figure out. Hmm. Yeah, maybe. Hmm. Let's see if we're going to get the catalyst tomorrow morning. It's a bunch of. That's a bad number, but fortunately, man, it just the year news is just so bad. Um, Yeah, if we can get a decent topping candle anywhere in here, even really anywhere in between here and the orange zone, if we can get a decent, like a one candle base and kind of a pullback, a little bit of a failure to go higher, look for like a red, green, red, right? Confirming that it is officially turning. Somewhere up in the zone, probably a decent short on this one. I think that we do go lower on this one. I think we're going to hear about big interest rate changes this week for the dollar, kind of what the next hiccup looks like. Um, so I think we'll get news of that. Pound yen looks almost identical, but we do know that this is in an area, and I thought we had marked this off last week, but I guess not. Right there. Boom, 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 boom. There's our three, our 1030. Again, we talked about the 161. We didn't hit it until what 3 o'clock, so obviously not an entry. And then when it came back down, it opened up here, right? Pulled back down to that same level, and had we done the kind of the same little bit there, you may, and again, this one went less than a it's basically like a fraction of the pip. It did the same bottom. If you didn't want to use that one, if you're looking for something a little bit more kind of, again, a little bit more main time frame, it would have been right here, the 2-3 o'clock range. You had a nice little bounce. And you can see it's exploded off of that. So it's, again, quite a large mover, right? And now it's pushed all the way up. And again, this should have been a profit target. So I'd say right now it looks very similar to some of the other yen-based pairs that we've seen. It's obviously rallied up. We are at an area where we are starting to see some reversals, and again, it did base, it pulled back, and now it's starting to go lower. So again, this is a case where if we get a red, green, red, look for it to push back down. Profit taking is probably going to come in right about here. Um, that's another 60 pips to the downside, and then again, if we break through here, we could push all the way back down again. So this one's kind of already a little bit late. As I said, if you were, trading early, you were obviously. I mean, this one was. Let's see how much risk was in it. Yeah, it's only 15 pips worth of risk, and again, your 1 to 3 was sitting right there. So kind of hard to, you know, kind of hard to miss that one. It just moves so much. I mean, if you forgot, it's one of those ones where if you forgot to set a profit target, you're up like 100 at its peak 190. You're up like 166 pips right now. So yeah, quite a decent move, right? Hold on, get another message. These guys don't talk to me at all, and then all of a sudden, not that they don't talk to me at all, but it's kind of like, let's do it all at one time. All right, so again, anyway, probably more short feeling there. There's the CAD. So, CAD last week, we talked about a couple different entries in the area, the big area, the small area. We tagged this one at 11 o'clock, right? Came back down again. Um, we hit our target of 128.50, and then again, 9:30, 10:30 bottom, we rallied all the way back up again. And again, if we continue this across, right, typically we don't take it multiple times, but it opened on the 4th, this morning, right? Actually, it opened here, right? Came back up, formed kind of a new base, drop, push back up, and then big push to the downside. So, again, the move has kind of already happened in this one. Again, it is that dollar weakness trade, but at the same time, this one is also, oil being up a little bit. I would say this is an area down here where, again, we were targeting it before. We'll pull this all the way down to the next level. Actually, we probably don't even need it yet. And we'll pull it down to here right now. Again, we're going to take this target off. We are going to mark a level. It's got to chop through there, so I don't know if that's where we're going to push it. I'd say I'd be looking for a reversal in the dollar CAD. And again, we're so close to this level, and you can see it's having some problems. It is finding some sellers, but there's a little bit of a racetrack from that one. Again, I just kind of roughly drew this one. Trying to see what a 1 to 3 looks like. See if I can see a better zone. Yeah, actually, that's fine on the 15. You can see the ascending, and then it took off of there. So it's super close to it. So again, if you're looking for a 1030 reversal in the dollar, I'd say that the dollar CAD is probably where it's going to. We're seeing it in multiple different pairs, but it's kind of lining up for everything. The dollar is pushed up into a lot of different its weaknesses push it on a lot of pairs into supply zones. And again, when it's the first pair, now we're seeing it in demand zones. So I'd say dollar reversal is probably what's next, right? Dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss, we talked about this one going up, right? We didn't know from where, but it did. It pulled back up again. Let's see. It did find a bottom. When did it find that bottom? Yeah, 10:30. 10:30 on Friday is kind of when it did, and it kind of went back up, and yeah, it missed it by. Look at this. It took the early one. Actually, this should be there. Oh, it actually did hit. Okay, it did hit. I was like, huh. Again, that's where our profit target was 96.55 off of a long. We were talking for it to go back up, and it did. So it's out on its profit target. Whether you ended this one for a short, again, that's entirely up to you. I'd say right now this one is probably going to continue to go higher. It does have to go through this level, though, and I think that's going to be kind of an interesting spot. You will have 23.6 traders stepping in there. I guess in reality, you could say that it's there tested, and then you obviously have that zone right there. And again, that's where kind of things bounced off of. I think the major problem with this one is obviously the Swiss is an even smaller country than Germany. And if Germany's having a hard time, there's going to be other nations as well. Obviously, the Swiss is on a different currency, right? But a lot of times the contagion of whatever is happening in one happens to the other one. So, this is already starting to rally back when the dollar broad spectrum starts to rally back. I think this one probably is probably going to do the same thing. Probably going to do the same thing. Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. I think it's going to have to grind through. The next major level I'd be looking at is up here. When we can finally break through. I mean, we got to chop through a bunch of stuff here. We need some type of news. Whoop, that was a weird noise. Not sure where that noise came from. Did you guys hear that? It was like bells, like a chime or something. Not sure what that is. Like, okay. Now I'm really curious where the heck that came from. Sometimes this software does weird stuff, and you get some weird noises. That would have been one of those times. And now Melissa's lighting my phone up. Melissa's like, "Good morning. Where are you? Just making sure that you're alive." Like, yes, honey, I'm alive. It's webinar. Webinar time. Everybody's trying to check it. By the way, the kids are having a good time. Kip is the prince. Doesn't get put down ever. They went. I guess he stayed with my in-laws, and Jin and Melissa and her friends went berry picking. They had these like little pails that were the size of like a gallon thing of ice cream, and they filled 2 or 3 of them up with blueberries and 2 or 3 up with raspberries. So Jin's whole face was like red. I'm like, dear, she's got scars. Like, can we not, like, can we not push the scars? Can we not get blueberry juice in her wound? She's like, we tried our best. I'm like, ah. So I don't know if you can give yourself like an artificial tattoo with blueberry juice, but if it's possible, Jin's gonna have it. Yeah. Anyway, dollar yen looks almost like the dollar Swiss, the same type of rallying back up again. Here was the move from last week, and again, we'd see we pushed down. 1030 was the bottom. Again, pushing back into this, kind of the same trade setup. This one had a little bit more room to run. Was definitely not as clean. If we're going to take more near-term pieces, you can see again, this is a pretty easy one for those of you that follow the channel. This one's already short as of like 8 o'clock, and again, this is kind of more of a yen play right now. It looks actually a lot like the Aussie dollar did, just not at the top. This was just offering a pullback to the 50. Right there. So our trade's already initiated. We'll remove this from last week. Yeah, we'll pull that one off. And again, we're shooting for, on the drive down, we're shooting for 135 again. Let's get it close. You guys can see it marked. And again, there's another level down there. Let's see. Pull that across the top. Just clean these up a little bit. Okay. Let's get some of these marked off for later on this week. Put that red. Let's do. Yeah, I'd say this is probably what we're looking for right now. So we got 139.06 up top, 137.83, and then again, overall target down at 135. We know that 135 is kind of like a, I don't want to say magical number, but yes, it is a very big psychological number. It's got a 500 in it. Those are always going to be levels that are extremely important, and we know with the yen in particular that, again, remember the world was bad at 130, the world was ending at 135, and we talked about getting short at 139, and again, it's all the way back down to 136.50. So I think 135 is probably on the radar as far as kind of what's next. Yeah, it's probably it for this one. Like I said, this is definitely not my favorite of pairs right now. Just because. Hold on one sec. Hold on. I think I figured out what that noise was. Um, yeah. So, like I said, I think dollar yen's hard to play right now because you have dollar strength, you have yen strength coming in. They battle each other back and forth. We have the yen intervening. We have the dollar raising interest rates. A lot of stuff going on. So, always kind of a hard scenario as far as how you play it. So, but again, if you're short this already, good job. Again, looking for this one to pull back again. It is in an area. The profit target is right where buyers have stepped in the past to support it. Should push back down that way. It has another about 37 pips to go. So this one may even be one you take off a little bit early. Looks like all the high risk assets, all the crypto is down 3.3%. Ethereum's down 5%. Charts that look the same. Yeah, big drop. AMC still getting beat. GME still getting smacked around. Dogecoin also with the big drop and kind of pushing lower. And obviously bonds, TLT, pushing back to the downside. And again, with the indices where they are, it's kind of like, woof, big gap. But I would expect TLT for you option traders out there. I would expect TLT probably, again, if we're going to, actually, I guess everything is slightly in the green. It's kind of mixed, right? I would expect bonds probably to hold, but probably be a slow grind back up again. If we get some really negative news tomorrow, I think bonds takes off. If the news tomorrow is positive, I think this one probably shoots back down, probably back into the 114 range for the options traders out there. Now looking at the indices, I'm sorry, not the indices, commodities. All right, so let's see. We were sitting here at 10:30, right, on Friday. And it actually did. Look, 10:30, 11 o'clock, it ended up tagging that 97.50, and I mentioned this was a level. It turns out that was actually pretty in close proximity to 61 now, but we didn't know that then. But there was the level that we had marked off, and you can see actually by the time it ended, it did actually give us a decent drop, so it would have made us full push down. Now, over the weekend, let's see, what do we got here? It ended here, and we kind of went lower and then pushed back up again. Let's see, when did it pop? 4. So I think oil is I'd say oil is a little challenging. You can see 50% traders obviously missed it. 23 sixes. If you guys try to play that one, you just absolutely got blasted through. It didn't even pause. It just gunned its way through. We knew we were going to have some problems down here at 93.93, and you can see, look at this, where 93.93 is. 93.93, right there. Look at all the basing right there. So it had to fight through some people. I would say right now, in any type of a short scenario, and we're seeing a push back again, I would say profit taking is going to come in right here. 93.50. I think this is going to be interesting. We had comments over the weekend, Biden saying that we're not going to be an oil exporter. So the strategic reserve thing has to stop. Yeah. And then we also had Russia, I guess, allegedly signing an agreement and then in the same day shooting the ports that they agreed not to shoot. Again, I don't know. I feel like there's I don't know. I feel like this is a complete miscommunication, the whole thing. Um, if they were going to blow, I don't know, maybe they signed it to get the grain to the ports, but I believe that the grain was already in the ports. I'm just not exactly sure why you would agree to do it and then shoot it down on the same, like, attack it in the same day. Obviously, there was something lost with Google Translator on that one. Um, and again, they're getting something out of it, so it was kind of like, huh, I don't know, like they were getting fertilizer out. Um, yeah, I don't know. Weird scenario. It's funny. All the news articles you read about it now are all just opinion articles. It's kind of interesting. They're like, they're backstabbing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, wow, that's a non-biased article that you start off that they are backstabbing. Like, I feel like that's not just a non-biased report of what the facts were. So it's just kind of odd. It's like, yeah, we signed an agreement, right? So the world could believe in hope, just so we could shoot it down, within hours. Like, huh? I feel like there's something more to it. So, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of funny. All the first articles I read on there, like, oh, Russia's going to be these great guys. They're going to let all this grain out. I'm like, well, what's Russia getting from it? Like, the whole world attacked Russia, right? So Russia, out of the goodness of their heart, is just not going to let all the grain go out there and still have all the sanctions on them. They got to be getting something out of it, right? Because otherwise, why would there be months of negotiations, right? Russia just be like, no, you're not going to help. No, right? So I think there's more to it. Um, but again, I think oil right now is still kind of a sketchy situation. Germany, obviously, going into the recession, I'm kind of surprised we had the pop that we did. I would say right now, again, talking about blocking more things, sanctions and everything is probably why we're seeing this bounce, as well as some of the news that Biden says about, oh, we got to stop, producing so much oil. All right, well, we have a lot of oil that we can produce. I would say right now, again, it's really having a hard time kind of pulling back down again. If we can get a red, green, and then a red candle here print kind of showing us that, over about an hour and a half, there is that negative sentiment, I do think it rolls back down to 93.50. If price is able to go up, I think 97.60 is probably going to be the area. And it may even be kind of a front run scenario right here. Oops, right there. Um, so again, depending on how aggressive you want to be with this, 97.60. Again, I'll mark this one kind of in orange and just kind of leave it there. Again, could it be a short? Yes. Could it be a front run off of a 61.8 retracement for fibs? Yes, absolutely. But overall, I think this thing tries to push back down to 93.53. And again, oil is not dropping in price right now because the United States is releasing 1 million barrels a day of, oil. Um, I think it more at this point, I think it's been pretty much confirmed. It's 100% related to what a recession looks like. Global demand being driven down by a recession and kind of what that looks like. And again, kind of the same thing, right? If we are going to be in a food shortage and they're blowing up grain stores, making food shortages even worse, that is also kind of more negative, lowers demand for things. Not necessarily the best, not, and that's again more of a fundamental thing. Now, natural gas. Natural gas is maintaining and holding high. We talked about 870 would be the next area. There's a little zone right here. If you guys were really interested in taking something natural gas wise, there is kind of a failure to go higher right here. Now it did hit it, it did base, it hit it again, pulled back and grabbed more buyers. So right now, what's interesting about this trade is there's a lot going on right here. So we'll raise this up. It doesn't change too much, although this 23.6 will be an area. A lot of things going on. Obviously, there's an area of sellers here. And again, the sellers have been tested, and they're fighting and they're fighting again. You can play this in a couple different ways. You can look for Harry Potter, kind of confirming that we finally kicked out all these sellers, and then they will become buyers, and we go up, right? We can also look at this and say, hey, wait a second, there's a gap right here. Look at this. It keeps getting front run. We could wait for this and then kind of take a bounce off of this level here. Or kind of as a third option, and again, I'll put this here. That's kind of the other option. The other one is, again, we got a bit of a racetrack area here. If this comes down and then starts the base, right? Once it starts the base, it says, okay, now we're chopping through the other side. Then we push down, we push back up, and then we push down. So we kind of have our momentum breakout or momentum continuation high through a zone that's been tested multiple times. There's that option. There's the pullback option, obviously filling the gap. And again, we know there was an imbalance in price for price to jump up and then again taking it high. Or if we come down, we reside in this gap and actually that level we're kind of right below. If we start basing in here and you don't see this movement, then all of a sudden we have the option of, okay, now we're going to retake this area and look for kind of this pushing back down again. Now, some of this news and kind of the chopping and the volatility back and forth is again, Russia sending things in, basically saying that, hey, yeah, listen, we're not looking for a complete shutoff of gas into, Europe, which again is kind of common sense. Where is it? Yeah, Kremlin. Russia is not interested in a complete gas supply cutoff of Europe. And then again, of course not. Why would he be interested in cutting off a pipe that brings money? 100% correct, right? 100% correct. And again, it's funny, right? Good for the euro, right? Complete representation. So they're right. I mean, it's a cash cow for him, right? If Europe is going to continue to pay for it and pay high prices for it, of course he's not going to cut it off. Like, kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah, thank you for the common sense. Appreciate it. Yeah. So that's providing some of the movement in this right now. You know, is what it is. So again, but those are your three potential scenarios. I would say this one, I would say, is probably my number one. If it again, as far as the if this then that's, I love the confirmation ability of this one, and again, pushing up into the 870. If it does come down of the two here, an immediate bounce off the gap. If we're able to kind of really break through the chunk that we're in through here, I kind of like the confirmation to the downside. I just would rather have the confirmation with natural gas, because natural gas can obviously get a little wacky, right? Can obviously get a little wacky. Yeah, it's probably it's probably how we'd end it. Yeah, probably that. Yeah, probably this one. Sorry, I was looking at something else real quick. But those would be my two options. It would be number one, if it can break through. If it can break through. If not, probably the confirmation Harry Potter, and then just stay out of this chunk back and forth. Makes it a little bit safer. Now, gold. So there's gold. Again, 9:30. We saw this one roll. It was out by, and actually, I was surprised it retraced all the way back in time, but it did. It made it out by 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, so it ended up tagging its 1 to 3 off that level. We can bring this over here just so you guys have it. Again, that's 1739.75. Right there. All right, so now important levels that we look at. Again, this one I still think deserves to be bearish. There is a level sitting right here, and it just happens to be at the 50% level. So right now, if you are short, I think 1709 is really what you're looking for. I mean, it's really close to 1710. Right there, 1710, same level. Actually, it looks like 1712, probably 1712.50. Yeah, probably right there. That's where we're looking. So 1712.50, you're at 1718 right now. What it does from that level is important. If it does the same type of level of basing, it has the ability to Harry Potter, but I would be a little bit cautious with a Harry Potter South on this one, because we had a big push up, spike down, push up, and then pull back, and then continue to push through. If you run low to high and you run some fibs on there, yeah, we got a 50% here, but right here is the 61.8. And again, everybody knows the 61.8. It's going to be a level that people look for. With a break of the 61.8, though, I do think we roll and we push all the way back down into the 1683 level. I like that one. I think it deserves to be lower. Again, the talk of recession and not raising interest rates as much as they think is kind of one thing. But again, those comments about, hey, September, where is it? September, right? Big interest rates, they need to be quite significant. We should be in open discussions, and a weak euro. So these are all, again, leading to a pushback to the downside. Okay. Now, silver doing what it's supposed to do. We marked this one off. We talked about it being, unfortunately, going to be late, and it did. It ended here, right? We didn't really get a clean pullback. It did come back and then finally start to collapse at the same time. We were talking about this one come on all the way down and touching this 1825. I'm sorry, 1824. So it's doing it, and again, just way too late. Never gave us a pullback. And again, we talked about this being a short trade, but something that you wanted to get short over the weekend. And again, this is that violated zone they were looking to go short from. So, I'd say right now this is kind of the top and bottom. I don't know if I'd take a short. It would depend on what time we got back there. Again, we had great selling off of that one, 1895. right? Some great selling there. But again, level, this made it weird, and then it kind of reestablished itself here. So I would say those would be the two levels I'd be looking for. And again, if you are short already, 1824, 1825-ish, take yourself out of the silver trade. It's better just to be flat on that one than, taking extra risk that you don't need to and giving back some profit on it. Overall, still bearish silver. I just don't think that it really offers anything right now. Again, continuing to crush interest rates and recession talk, never really necessarily good for silver. And overall target on this one is 1775, though, sitting all the way kind of down here, right? So got a little bit of room to run. What do we got? 25, 50 cents. 50 cents, so like a day, 2 days worth of movement to the downside. We could technically hit it today if it gets really nasty. But again, it's doing what it should be doing. All right, VIX. VIX is kind of coming back down, right? It is up because we did the gap, but it is pulling back down. So again, it's going to kind of provide some weird insight. Look at that. We talked about this one going up, and again, 10 o'clock was the bottom, and then again, it's kind of pulling back down again. There's your base. Yeah, 3 o'clock right there. 3 o'clock. There's the Europeans. So again, we talked about pushing up, and again, those Europeans drove it right into a zone that was established right around midnight. And again, we're seeing the basing, and this is what we mentioned, right? They're trying to push it down, but the U.S. trader is starting to fight them, and again, we'll start to see some headlines. Indice-wise, let's dive into these on a 15-minute level. Just so you guys know, I did actually start the slide deck for the weekend. Didn't make tons of progress, but I did start the slide deck for basically in the opening print. And again, it's kind of doing it in two ways, right? I decided on this one, and again, I'll just give you kind of like a little preface for this class. Putting it together, and by opening print, I figured that the best way to do it is really to include the European Open, so it includes currencies, and then the U.S. Open, including indices. Since obviously the European market, indices are not a big thing for the European market, but the currency market is. That's when the currency day technically, quote, starts. And then the stock market technically starts at 9:30. So it's really how to play those two. So kind of a cool idea. And what I was thinking about doing was also at the same time, also doing kind of like I did with 30-minute trader, right? How it was like, basically like there's multiple strategies inside of the same thing, but the goal was overall the same. Basically talking about how to trade the opens and just the opens, not using the same 30-minute thing, but basically the opens and then the reversals, and then kind of having them in one group. You could get in two individual classes or buy the two classes together, and then it covers the openings for both European and U.S. as well as the reversals for European and U.S. And that gave it enough substance. I thought having those two things in there, so it's kind of two separate strategies, basically 4 different things that you could trade, or 4 different times that you could trade, and covering forex as well as futures market or indices or Nadex or however you want to roll. You could trade it in all those markets, really. All right. So when I started to outline it, there was actually more to it than I thought. I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I always do this. I always add more into it. So, but anyway, yes. Let's see. Would we have traded this one today? Kind of a hard one. Let's see. The 9:30 candle is right here. Opening right here with this kind of wick back and forth. I wouldn't say that was really, I don't know, we're kind of in the middle. There's not really a great level there anywhere. We're kind of smashed in between two. I was going to say if, it had spiked down into here, then maybe, right? Maybe, there could be an argument made and say, hey, listen, there's a base right here. And there was a base right there, and there was a nice little push up from it. But, opening where it is right now, there's not really anything even remotely close. And, like I said, I would say probably this is what I would have been looking at. And again, it would have been a no entry on this one actually here, right there. It would have been a no entry. So, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, again, it's Monday morning. It doesn't always happen on Monday morning. But again, if you did look for the quick spike in there, there was a quick spike. Let's see. Yeah, it hit pretty quick. 9:38. Yeah. So let's see. Let's play back. 9:30. Yep. 9:40 is really when we hit that area. 9:40 is when we really hit that area. And I don't think, let's see, this market, I don't know if it made its 1 to 3. 2 and 3. Yep, it hit its 1 to 3. Is there like a, there we go. So there you go. You can see there was your 1 to 3. So had you traded that one for like the quick little bounce on the small time frames, kind of that opening scalp, it would have worked. It was in the middle, so for me, it would not have been. Again, I try not to go to the lower time frames, but for somebody more experienced with it, into like the early scalping, there's your 1 to 3. The same analysis that we just talked about. That if you were really looking for something, if you were looking to go long, you would have actually gotten out of this trade in a long off the open, hitting at 940, out by 945-ish. But yeah, ultimately more conservative. I've taken the top and bottom on that one. But right now, we've already hit the level pretty deep. I think it comes down, and the big question is going to be, what does it do when it hits this lower level? That level, and I'm going to mark this in yellow because I think that's important right now. If we can push down to this level, and again, we're kind of at that 10:30 mark right now. There's not really been any comments. It's kind of quiet right now. I would say that it is probably in a bit of an area for a reversal, but there's absolutely no data, news, nothing right now, kind of driving it. So again, I would prefer if it was down here at the 39.4725. But are we going to see a reversal today? Maybe. I wouldn't say there's really been any kind of craziness thus far. And again, it's Monday. Excuse me. It's Monday in the summer, so it's going to be less. Look, now it's starting to move. All right. Let's see. Was there just a headline? Not yet, or at least it's not published over here. We'll see. There may be a little delay here. But yeah, so most likely something is happening right now. Somebody probably said something. Because that's, quite a big drop, which is not bad. I'm okay with a quite a big drop at 10:30 because that's where you tend to see the reversals. So kind of good. I just don't know what they've said yet. But there's probably a headline somewhere because that's a decent amount of movement. Very quickly. We'll see. Anyway, let's go back to the opening setup. So kind of the same thinking on this one. Yeah, 9:30 with the crazy choppy candle. And you can see there's where it hits the crazy choppy channel and then spikes back up. I actually like this one more for the short. Kind of like it actually more for the, when you're looking at it, right? You can say, yes, is there a zone there? Yeah, but, I kind of like, it's like if you're looking for the pullback on it, I think the pullback would have been much better. I think the short, this candle right here, I think that would have been a much better trade. Now, was that the opening print? No. Actually, let's see. Yeah, that was the establishment. See, here's the problem. So I marked this zone off, right? And it was done on the 5-minute. Here's where the opening happened. Okay, you can say, okay, well, listen, is there enough room? Well, there's a zone here. Taking this long, there was not a 1 to 3 zone, so it's really, really hard to take it long. And you may say, well, wait a second, what about the downside? You're right, too. You can say, well, what if we take the short, the pullback, right? The short is kind of more there, I would say, than anything else. And you can see at 9:45 is where it hit, as well as at 10 o'clock, or 9:57 it hit. So, hitting once, hitting again, and it's kind of like, yeah, this has been kind of getting smacked around. This is what you're, again, not opening print, but kind of opening, and again, 1 to 3 is only right there. So it's just barely in the zone, and it's kind of like, oh, it's already pushed that deep. All I got to do is break a new low, and then again, you got 2 entries, and you can see it broke through, and is now trying to Harry Potter off the downside of that one. So I would say on this one, although not the opening print, again, the long just wasn't really feeling the long necessarily, but there was a decent short trade setup on this one if you're using the 5-minute. And again, it's pretty easy to see. Whenever you see something like this, a lot of wick, little body, there's a lot of imbalance there. So those tends not to be horrible. But again, opening print, no, but Again, this one, almost the exact same thing. Now this one, let's go to 15. Yeah. You'd be looking at, this one's hard because it's like, yeah, there's an area right here, and it didn't get that low. And again, it went off this level. I don't even know, can we see anything? Yeah, you can kind of see the base in there. Can you see on the 15? Yeah, you can see it, it's right there. Kind of the same idea. There's your level of basing, right? There's your push off the basing. There's your touch of the basing at 10, even 10, 15-ish, right? 10, 15-ish. So again, level that you guys absolutely should have found. 3 is right there. So that trade is also out. Okay. So again, not opening print, 930 right here. There's a base right there, kind of it pulled a little bit. Again, the quick spike, not so much. But again, the imbalance off of that price, the second hit on that one would have worked. So again, not an opening print trade. You're playing the retracement that started at 10. In fact, this one gave you till about 10:15. 10:15 is actually when it finally left the area. And again, you can see we're out and pushing lower. Check out the Russell. Look at the Russell with 1800. Yeah, Russell, same thing at 930. Nowhere even remotely close, top or bottom to a zone. We knew that 1800 was going to be a big deal on this one, and it did. It did nothing but spike down. Let's check this one out in a 5-minute. Yeah, you can see this one is just chopping back and forth. This one is, again, there's your level of basing, right? And this one kind of peeked its head out the top, and it started to roll as well. Again, it is the strongest. It is the most in the green at 0.12 right now, 0.11. But I would say this one is also faltering and probably going to head back down again. But we knew 1800. I mean, that's why we've had 1800 marked off forever. But a 1 candle base at the bottom there. Again, it's obviously long. So I would say as far as actually hitting the button, the go button at 930, only one of them, the ES, had something that you could arguably have gotten into. Everything else, and even the ES included, was a better trade setup at 10 o'clock or like that 9:45 to 9:57-ish time frame. They were all in there. So I still want to see where oh, here you go. Yeah, there you go. It halts one more engine at Nord Stream pipeline. Gas flows that decline 33 million cubic meters per day. Okay. So, I don't know. Yeah, so that's not necessarily great, but that's probably what it is. Again, leading to more of that global contagion aspect of it. It's kind of like, oh, you're almost in recession? Ha! Hold my beer, watch this. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, that's not the best news for the European folk. So, yeah. Yep. So there'll be some drama back and forth on that one. We'll see what the headlines look like. And natural gas probably spiked. Yep. So if we can get that base in there, looking good. So, yeah. Yep. So, yep, it makes sense. All right, 10:33. Let's go ahead and do our drawing for today. So Debbie won last week. Debbie won on Friday. Uh-oh. There's no neuro today. Ernest says he's here. Will's here. Marina's here. Debbie's in. No neuro, no Sean. So, no neuro and no Sean today. Look at that. We're going to have to pick on neuro for a bit. I'll have to pick on it. Be like, what's up, neuro? I wonder if he's on vacation. He may have gone on vacation this week. I don't know. I know somebody that went on vacation. I can't figure out who that kid is. Now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know. Anyway, let's close it down. Oh, well. No points for neuro today. Everybody else has a chance to gain. Let's see if Debbie can get her 2 in. Winner of today's drawing is Ernest. Look at this. He's cheating. He's not even here. Not even here. He's like, yeah. He had a 30% chance. I think Debbie stole one from him last week, so only fair. Let's go back to the leaderboard. Let's see. Debbie is good. Let's see. Give Ernest his 25, and let's see. He's gaining back on Sean. So, oh, Debbie, you gained a bit more on neuro. Look at that. You're +1 victory above, right? So, doing good there, Debbie. See what happens? All right. So, Yeah, that I can't wait to see the rest of the headlines. I think there'll be more headlines on this one today. Some interesting news. Again, the Kasich stuff about big rate hikes. We need to get them back in there, and then obviously Russia's like, we're not going to halt it to all of Europe, but they're like, but we're going to halt it to some. Who's providing the most resources? I don't know. Talk about an interesting chess game. That's kind of where we're at right now. So, anyway, with that said, thank you for joining today. We'll be back on tomorrow. And again, tomorrow, I still haven't heard. The boys and everybody are not back, so I'm going to actually go on at 9:30 tomorrow morning. So if you guys are around, we'll do our broadcast at 9:30. I'm going to cycle it back instead of doing the 12. I'm not sure exactly when I'm getting the boys. I think the boys, I don't know. The boys are coming tomorrow or Wednesday. But I'm going to do the early session tomorrow. So with that said, I'll see you guys 9:30 tomorrow morning. I'll catch you guys soon. Take care.